Hello guys, and welcome to another video. This is going to be episode 1 in a line of episodes regarding tanking. And we're starting off extremely basic. Now I'm doing this because there are a lot of videos out there regarding tanking, but it's all about what sets to use, resource management, etc, etc, and that's all very well and good and stuff you do need to know. But I see a lot of players out there that are probably new with Homestead, and that's really good. We do need more tanks in the community. It's getting harder and harder to find a tank, and it's good to see new tanks coming through. That's brilliant. But some of them are struggling with the fundamentals of being a tank, like just the bare basics. So I'm going to start from the absolute bare basics. If you're an experienced tank, you may not get much out of this video, but if you're a new tank, or you're wanting to make a tank, then definitely can't hurt to watch. So we're not starting with gear, race, what you should, what class and gear you should or should not be running. We're starting right at the start, and that is with a taunt. So whether you're level 5 or endgame CP 160 best in the world, you need a taunt. If you're a tank, you got to have a taunt. Now the two main ways of taunting, the two most common ways of taunting in your skill line. Now one of them, we'll start with one-hand and shield. So one of them is pierce armor or ransack. Now this is very beginning, it's deliberately, that's the first skill of this line, so people that want to play a tank can play it literally from level 5, bam, off you go. Now this is a stamina based ability, and you need to have sword and board equipped in order to use this, which is not a problem because most tanks are going to be running sword and board. So basically, we're not going to go into morphs. Like I said, this is bare bones basics. So this is a taunt. Whenever you apply this onto a mob, boss, etc., it forces that mob to attack you for 15 seconds. And if it's attacking you, it's not attacking anyone else, then you are doing your job as a tank. So that is one form. It doesn't have a very long range at all, only 5 meters. So you have to be in a close proximity to the mob that you're looking to taunt. That is one taunt. Okay. Now there is another one here. We go to guilds, undaunted, inner fire. Now inner fire is a magic based. Well, this morph is a magic based ability, and I deliberately made it magic based just to have a bit of balance, but we won't go too far into that. The most important thing is here is the range is 28 meters. Okay. And again, forces whatever you taunt to attack you for 15 seconds, okay? And at 28 meters. Now, another unique thing with inner fire is that it is weapon. It's not weapon dependent. So I can have sword and board, I can have staff, bow, two-hander, dual wield, nothing. I can have nothing equipped at all, and I can still apply this taunt to a mob. That's the most important part. So if there's no need to think, like, oh, I've got sword and board, there's no other way to taunt a mob. Incorrect. There is inner fire. Admittedly, take you a while to get it. I do believe it's around undaunted 4 to 6, and undaunted is notoriously slow to level, as we all know, and we've all been there. But once you do get this, definitely level it. Not going into morphs, I don't care, it's a taunt. Okay guys, this is basic stuff. So those are your two primary taunts. Now there are other taunts out there that are gear dependent, such as set pieces that apply taunt after charges, forces enemies to attack you, blah blah blah. We're not worried about that. These are accessible, like I said. This one here is accessible from the get-go. So if you want to get hard into tanking from level 5, you got this. It's not a problem at all. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a few clips of how you know how to taunt. You can't just waltz into a trash mob and taunt everything in sight. Okay, it generally doesn't happen. But I'll show you how to pick your targets, what should you and shouldn't you be taunting, how to maneuver yourself in the trash pool, how to position yourself in relation to your group and to things that are going on. And those do really make a good tank. It's not what you're wearing, what set you got, what you look like, what race you are. It's how you manipulate what's going on and how you aid your group by doing your job as a tank. So we'll jump into a few clips here, and I'll go through a few tips and tricks on what I do to tank. Okay, so in every trash pool you're going to have some big guys. So now if I pause the screen here, you can see that I've had a quick look in here and I've isolated what I call the big guys. So they're the tougher mobs in all the trash. So as you can see, I've got a sword and board here. I do believe there's a dual wield and maybe another two-hander in there somewhere. So as you can see, I deliberately taunt the big guys first, right? And I say big guys because they generally are the biggest physically in the trash pool as well. So I always taunt these guys first, so I have enough magicka to make sure I get all of them. The smaller fellows, the little dual wields, the mages don't cause too much trouble, so I'll always taunt them last. So I'll go through, taunt all of the bigger threats in the trash pool, and then I'll instantly walk through the group and try and position them so they're focusing on me, and all their cleaves that are focusing away from the group. Now the tougher the mobs in the trash means you may not be able to DPS them down very quickly, and you'll have to reapply aggro. So as you see there, I lost aggro, reapply aggro to the dual wield there, which is obviously the toughest mob in the group, and it's the last one left, and it's focusing on me, and all of its attacks are directed away from the group. So that's typically what you want to try and achieve. Now in this trash pool there is a very tough sword and board. Now a little trick with the sword and board guys is they'll eventually initiate a charge, and what you want to do is get as close to them as possible in order to limit the distance that they run and obviously charge. So if you can stop them from charging straight away, then that's less distance they will have, you know, for the chance of hitting someone. So again, you saw me walk straight through the trash mob, picking my targets and walking to the back of the mob, back of the group, sorry, and that's where I sat and stayed, and the majority of my group stayed at the tail of the group there, so out of harm's way, and yeah, it's all good. Little trash mobs like this don't really cause too much of a threat, but still the exact same principles apply. So we're on the final boss here at Spindle Clutch 1, hard mode as well, and this fight's known to be a bit of a group killer. The one thing you do notice is that I've deliberately taunted her and brought her over to one side of the area here, and that's because of her big AoE that you'll see here. Now if I was to position her right in the middle of the area, that really limits the amount of space my teammates have to get out of the way of that AoE attack. So now you can see they're hovering in the semicircle that's left in the room, and that's where some of them are dead. This was a pug, but it doesn't matter. This is a bit of an example, but as you can see, when she does her heavy attack, the big AoE heavy attack, there is a good space of that area left. Now, things like this you have to keep in mind, like not only the direction you face the boss, but when the boss goes through its normal mechanic, what impact does it have? So see here, we can see there's a ton of room there left for people if they choose to use it, and as you can see, I'm trying to bring her over a little bit more in order to give them a bit more space. I'm not going to show you how a fight goes on for a very long time, as you can see, but you get the idea of it. So always check your surroundings. It's not about You know, you can have all the gear, but if you don't have an idea of what you're doing, good luck to you. You know, you're going to get noob filtered for sure. So, and the thing with the tank, it's very unappreciative. It takes good players to see a good tank. Otherwise, you're just doing your job. No complaint means you've done a good job. So, but yeah, this is one thing to keep in mind is the area around you and how to use it. Another important thing you can do as a tank to really help the group, and that's to interrupt mobs. Now, this mage here is going to cast a ward on a fellow trash mob, and that ward is really strong and it takes ages to burn through it. So just by interrupting saves a lot of time, resources, and there it is again. Just a quick interrupt. It's all it takes is a shield bash or an interrupt, and it's all good. Now, you can interrupt a lot of things, like this harvester here, her heavy attack that she'll charge, I can interrupt that. You can interrupt archers from doing volley and acid spray. Healers can be interrupted, and some two-handers, dual wields can all be interrupted from doing certain things, and even some bosses can be interrupted from doing some mechanics, and you will have to interrupt them sometimes in order to survive. So very important to learn when you can interrupt and do so when you can. Get in the habit of doing that. So this boss coming up here has a very nasty frontal cleave. Now I've learnt from my mistakes here, because previously I've taunted this boss front on and it's come in and wiped the whole group. So now I taunt the boss and I move to the side, so that big frontal cleave misses the group. Now this is a really good example of controlling the area that you're in. This boss does a poison mechanic, so I position him dead in the middle of the room to give as much room as possible. And also you'll see a classic layout here of the boss is back as to the group. The DPS and the healers are all tucked in behind the boss nicely, all lined up, and that's the way you want it for this boss. Not all bosses are like this by all means, but this gives a good example. Now, all the good gear and the race and buffs and debuffs are an important part of tanking, but guys, if you cannot nail down these fundamental core common sense tips that I'm showing you here, if you can't interrupt, if you can't taunt, if you can't control the space that you're in, then yeah, you might want to rethink being a tank, or go back to basics and start over to find out how you can become better. It's not, I wouldn't say it's not hard, it's just being aware of what's going on. Now as we progress through the series, things will get more advanced. I'm sorry if this bored the crap out of you, because it was very simple, but that's where I want to start. Okay, so things will get more advanced as we move on, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.